Welcome to Extrapreneurs, the show that highlights women in business who go above and beyond to collaborate, innovate, and share ideas. I'm your host, Ronnie Walsh. Today we're talking about mental health for entrepreneurs, improving your leadership skills, and we'll learn about what makes Rocket Bakery's marketing so successful. Newfoundland and Labrador Organization of Women Entrepreneurs, supporting the women entrepreneurs of this province for more than 20 years. Entrepreneurs are leaders, whether it's leading a team or just yourself as a solo entrepreneur. Finding the time, effort, and courage to self-reflect can be a challenge. Jess Chapman is the owner of ethree Consulting. Jess provides training and guidance to groups or individual leaders. Here she is recently working with a group of women entrepreneurs, helping them to take a closer look at their leadership skills. And luckily, she's here with me in studio today. Welcome, Jess.
Thanks for having me, Ronnie.
What makes a good leader?
So I really like what you said in the intro about whether you're a solopreneur or you're on a team, because we can get really stuck on the idea that leaders have to have people reporting to them. But for me, leadership is really about having the impact you want for your organization. So leaders have to set visions, they have to make good decisions, they have to assess risk, they have to build plans, they have to influence people. So it's a really quite a broad role of things that you do to have the impact that you want.
So there's lots of things to juggle there.
Yeah.
How do you be a good leader?
So for me, there's not a one-size-fits-all approach to leadership. Really good leaders know how to tailor their style and their approach to the situation they find themselves in or the people that they're working with. But there are a couple of things that I see that are consistent. So the first is being really authentic. So knowing yourself, knowing what you stand for, and really walking the talk on that every day, because that builds trust. I'd say really great leaders have a growth mindset. So that means they look at failure and mistakes as opportunities to learn and to do things differently, not things to avoid. And I'd say great leaders are really passionate about what they do, and it's that passion that brings people with them and wants to make followers.
What are some of the common mistakes that leaders can make?
The ones that I consistently see when I work with people are around not taking the time out to really think about your blind spots or your weaknesses. Particularly if you're an entrepreneur, you have to wear a lot of hats, and the chance that you're good at finance and marketing and the people and the delivery and everything else that's involved and being really good at that is slim. So being able to take a step back and saying, okay, I'm not so good at this and I need some help here. So sometimes I see people trying to do too much. I also think that people try to have too many things on their to-do list. So getting really good at setting the few goals that are going to make a difference to your organisation and sticking with them and seeing them through is more important than trying to tick off 20 things on your list.
So those are the day-to-day kind of practical things. Are there other day-to-day or broader things that leaders can incorporate into getting them into that mindset of being sharper?
Yeah. So tied to the kind of blind spots piece, I'd really encourage people to think about how much they ask for feedback. And we have a tendency to ask people who we know are going to be nice to us what they think about us and our businesses, but getting that broad range of critical feedback from our clients and from our vendors to really look at the full breadth of our business and say, okay, this is working well and this isn't. And doing that quite regularly is an important part of building kind of insight for yourself. I'd also say taking time out to really spend time planning the business. So we know that your brain works to build insight when you have time to reflect. And if you're constantly running, you don't have that time to sit back and allow your brain to pull all the pieces together and create that insight for you. So making sure that you have time to plan is really important.
How do you do that? How often should you be doing these things?
That's an interesting question because people have different rhythms and different ways of working, but it needs to be regular and frequent, so at least monthly for me, if not sometime weekly, to just allow yourself to review how everything's going and to see where you want to spend your time and focus. So go back to your goals, look at how you're doing. Hopefully you've got measures for your organisation on how you want to perform. Take some time to review that either weekly or monthly and then say, okay, what do I want to do to course correct from here?
You talked about metrics. How important are those metrics in guiding which direction a leader goes?
They're really important. So I see a lot of people who are entrepreneurs making decisions based on their gut. And I'm not disputing the value of the gut insight, because I have that too. But in terms of really making the right decisions and picking where you're going to spend your time, having data and information to make decisions is important. So set targets and number indicators for your organisation. Know what revenue should look like, know what your profit should be, and what else do you want to measure to make sure that you're successful. That will help you navigate what you need to spend your time on and not try and do everything every week, because you can't.
Really interesting. Thanks, Jess, for coming in today.
Thank you for having me. It's been happy to be here.
We'll be right back. Right now, let's meet the creative team at Abbey Shot, led by CEO Bonnie Edgecombe.
Abbey Shot sells sci-fi clothing inspired by characters that are in movies and computer games, TV shows, and we ship all over the world to 53 different countries. I think the day I realized I was going to be an entrepreneur was about a couple of months into my business. I stopped one morning in my bedroom. I was getting ready to come to work, and I said, okay, this is getting real. I need to decide, am I going to put one foot forward or step back from this? It didn't take me very long to realize that I wanted to step forward. I think the best thing about being an entrepreneur is that feeling you get. It's like a high from working with your team to plan and dream things, and then everything comes together. That's the very best part. The key to success for me in being an entrepreneur has been all about the journey of self-discovery, about the team getting together and facing all our obstacles. We find ways to improve things and make things better for ourselves every day, for sure. It's important for an entrepreneur to think outside the box. A box has 4 corners, and we can't be scurrying around on the inside. There are lots of adventures on the outside, and we need to step outside logic sometimes to be innovative and creative. And I believe that it takes a good team to have a vision come together, and we have that here at Abbey Shot.
Entrepreneurism is full of highs and lows. Winning contracts, making money, growing your business. Those, of course, are the highs. The lows, losing money, laying people off, and fear of failure. The stress can impact your mental health. Helen McKinnon is a therapist based in St. John's. She's the owner of a holding place. Helen regularly counsels people on how to manage stress, including entrepreneurs. According to one study from 2013, entrepreneurs are more likely to experience mental health illness compared to the general public. Helen is here to talk with me about this issue now. Welcome, Helen.
Thank you.
Can you tell me, why do entrepreneurs face so much pressure?
I think right off the bat, the definition of an entrepreneur is passionate, high achiever, high goals for themselves, put a lot of pressure on themselves for sure.
Are women entrepreneurs more susceptible to pressure or stress-related illness?
I think women put a lot of pressure on themselves, just give themselves a hard time, don't necessarily give themselves permission to take care of themselves. So I think in that way, definitely they're more susceptible as far as being in the entrepreneur position.
One of the things that, some of the research that's out there talks about is entrepreneurs don't really talk about mental health, illness or awareness. Why do you think that is?
I think the general public doesn't often speak very much about mental illness. Thank goodness society seems to be changing. There's a lot of initiatives out there to change that. But in the entrepreneur world, I think the problem is it might be seen as a weakness. Of course, they might be afraid of the stigma or judgment. But I think in competitive businesses, we don't want to show that we're weak in any way. So in that way, it might be a little bit harder. I think it's good, though, that at least my experience is getting together with other entrepreneurs, really being open and making that connection with people to know that I'm having this struggle, oh my goodness, so am I, that there's real support there that can, I guess, help us in that line too.
Entrepreneurism can be very isolating, as you're talking about there.
Definitely.
So finding out that it's not just me might be helpful
Right.
in itself.
Right.
So entrepreneurs feel this pressure, they feel this strain, but there's commonality. So how do you know when you might need professional help?
I think when we go into business for ourselves, we are passionate about something. And so one clear sign would be if you start to lose that passion, if you start to be irritable and just not enjoying the job as much as before, or you really start to get concerned about your mood or not sleeping well, that kind of thing, concerned about changes in yourself, seeking professional help, going and speaking to somebody, not going to burden family or friends. Let's go to a professional and just have someone I can open up and talk to and get some help for myself, just take care of myself. So definitely when you're seeing changes in yourself in a negative way, definitely time to talk to someone.
Other than professional help, what other types of things or self-care things could entrepreneurs be thinking about and applying to themselves?
I think self-care is something that I recommend to clients all the time. We need to focus on taking care of ourselves. For entrepreneurs, it's about trying to keep a balance in your work and personal life. And so making sure that you have a clear boundary. First, to set healthy boundaries for yourself as to, I need to say no here, or I need to define where my work ends and where my personal life starts. Carving out some time for yourself just to be good to you, whether that be going for a walk, just getting some fresh air, maybe some meditation, quiet time, or maybe some social, get together with friends, whatever works for you, a bath, go get a massage, that kind of thing. I think just finding that work-life balance is really important.
Do people have to be as prescriptive as put it in your calendar and force yourself to do those things, or is that dependent on a person?
Depending on the person, some people are better at it. Others really need it to be scheduled in. I know for me, when I find, oh my goodness, there's just not enough hours in the day, there's too much work to get done. When I feel I can't take a break is when I need to close my office door for about a 3-minute little deep breathing exercise, just to get things back in perspective, like, okay, I'm okay now, you know what I mean? So whether it be a 3-minute, I don't have to schedule that, I just need to follow my own body and know when I need that break. A lot of things, you know, it can wait till tomorrow. I need to know where to draw the line as well. So I think some of it's just the self-awareness piece, not necessarily scheduled, but I think it's important to really schedule some time in. Friday evening, I'm not going to be checking my emails. I'm turning my phone off, and this is my off time. It'll be, you know, the messages will still be there tomorrow if I want to check them, or Monday. That might be fine too.
Right.
You know?
Thanks for that insight, Helen. That's really helpful.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
We'll be back right after the break.
My name is Nita Carroll, and I'm the owner and founder of Posy Row, and now Posy Row & Co. It's been in business almost 24 years. I think anybody who owns their own store has to be a very creative person because you're creating something from nothing. We do support local, but we are broader than just local. Culturally, I think we've become part of the downtown landscape. And I think that we reflect what people in St. John's want and what they like. I think it's one of the most artistic cities I've ever been in. We'd been looking to expand Posy Row for years, probably 8-10 years, and nothing had ever worked. We knew that we had the potential to do better and sell more if we had more space. So this next door space, I knew that the gentleman was getting older and thinking of retiring, that if he ever thought of retiring to let me know. And I purchased the building. I knew I was moving Posy Row sideways, and I had no idea what I was going to do with the upstairs. Rents went up enormously about 10 years ago. So people opened up at a time when they felt they could sell enough to afford those rents. And of course, when we went into a little bit of a dip, then people found that the rents were very high. The rents have not come down very much on the main streets. They've stayed at those higher levels. If you are a small business and the only thing that's available is 2,000 square feet, and you only need 600 square feet, then of course that's going to be out of your price range. The added value of creating space for people upstairs as retail stores was that I didn't have to do any serious renovations to the building. So it seemed to work and people came forward right away.
We decided to open up our business here because, well, for one, it was a lot less expensive. My name is Louis O'Quinn. Run together with my wife Jenny a business called Dead Issue. We sell dresses, t-shirts, purses, things that are kind of vintage inspired but with a modern and sort of funky twist to them.
My name is Kyle Callahan and I'm in charge of our shop called Invasion. I sell my photography that you see around here, so like it's a mixture of pop culture icons with local scenery using like toys, action figures and models and what have you.
Initially I thought, wow, am I shooting myself in the foot? I'm, sending people upstairs. Am I going to lose sales to people who are not going to shop here? They're going to buy something upstairs. We have tenants in the upstairs who are bringing in customers who may never have come through the doors of Posey Row. So I think overall it's been beneficial to everybody because it's just everybody's bringing their own customers and we all get to share each other's customers and traffic and it's been really positive.
Posey Row is kind of a downtown fixture for so long and will continue to be undoubtedly. So as soon as we noticed that there were places up here on top of Posey Row and we could kind of be a part of a cooperative group, we said, heck yeah, let's try this.
My intention wasn't to create a community, but it has become a bit of a community.
We get to kind of sell things that complement each other. Everyone kind of sells similar things, but everyone puts their own flair on it.
Everybody here seems to get along exceptionally well, and everybody is quite willing to help their neighbor out. I've found that the merchants in the downtown are all very willing to give advice or help out in any way they can, because the more people in the downtown and the healthier the downtown is, the better it is for everybody.
Welcome back. Marketing is one of the most critical elements to running a business. How do you know you're getting the most out of your brand? How do you manage a successful brand and keep it relevant and top of mind with customers? Well, with me now is Kelly Mansell, co-owner and caretaker of one of the most successful brands in Newfoundland and Labrador, Rocket Bakery and Fresh Food. Welcome and thanks for joining me, Kelly.
Hi, Ronnie. Nice to be here.
Well, let's talk about that brand. How did you build the Rocket brand?
It started with the name, really. And, we made the mistake of thinking that everyone calls Newfoundland the Rock. So we thought, okay, it's got to be something to do with rock. But we thought Rock Cafe, that's not going to work. And we grew up in the 60s when, we liked comics and cartoons. And we thought of Rocket, and we thought of it as a kind of a fun and dynamic image or icon. So that's where it kind of started, was with that word, Rocket. And it became Rocket Bakery and Fresh Food. People said to me, what kind of name is Rocket for a bakery? But it turned out, it's now become the Rocket, just like when you name a baby, anything. That baby becomes that name,
So you talk about, you brainstorm. So since you called it the Rocket, how many times have you tweaked to refresh the brand?
Really, the thing about Rocket is that it changes and evolves, and depending on who comes to work with us in the kitchen, bakery, or on the floor, we use those talents, and so we're constantly changing. And I think that feeling of dynamic and fun is translated into the brand because we are willing to change. And I think being able to change and not being stuck in one particular sort of square in terms of what the brand means is a great thing.
So you talk about fresh and fun. You guys have a lot of content on your social media channels and your website. How do you generate this content? Where do these ideas come from?
Well, in fact, we're drowning in content because we have at least 5 divisions. There's the bakery, the restaurant, we've got coffee and catering, and then the event space, the Rocket Room. So in each of those divisions, there's always something going on. And it's just a matter of deciding, from our strategic planning process, which division needs help or there's something new going on there, and that helps us decide where we're going to be pushing out in terms of social media, the information about that division.
So what are you looking at in determining, what's working and what's not working?
Well, we have meetings every week. We have our dashboard meeting, and that's where we look at each of the products. Is it a dog? You know, is it just not selling? Are people not wanting it? Is it a star? Is it something that is really working for us in terms of generating, you know, that important revenue? And then making decisions based on what those numbers are really helps us decide.
So when you're making these decisions, how much is the customer influencing these decisions? Like you talked about, you know, what's a dog, what's a star?
Yeah.
Is it completely customer-driven metrics, or are you looking at other things?
It's really hard to get rid of something that we know people like. But if it's just not enough people are liking it, we have to make that hard decision. So it is customer driven in that we want to keep people happy. You know, we really do. But you know, it's a dollars and cents business. We have to stay viable, and so that's what we have to make our decisions based on, whether it's working from a revenue perspective or not.
Technology, that's a huge part of any business. How has, you know, social media influenced your strategy and the content that you're creating?
Well, I was an account director at a PR agency in Toronto, handling the Pepsi account when I opened Rocket with 4 partners at the time, almost 7 years ago. And that's when social media was, sort of Twitter was in its infancy really in terms of business use. And, but when I moved here, I was able to use my knowledge of social media to get Rocket launched. But the interesting thing is that social media and all marketing tools are only as good as them being partnered with, from my perspective, partnering it with that human element. So for me, we built Rocket on a person or a customer by customer basis. We met every single person. We must have shaken so many hands at the beginning, just introducing ourselves, but partnering that with social media and using social media to tell our personal people story, I think was really important, rather than just sell, sell, sell.
So that's an affordable way to market your business.
Yeah.
It's free, is it? Mostly for you?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, we didn't have a budget, so we had to rely on what we had, which was my marketing background and my willingness to be on the floor talking to people. Like, really, if I had my choice, I'd be on the floor talking to people all day. Like, really, but I wouldn't get anything done. But
right. Yeah. You have to be in all places. One last question for you, Kelly. Economy is a challenge in Newfoundland and Labrador. When you're facing tough economic times, what do you do? Do you invest more or do you dial it back?
Well, I think you have to find innovative ways of marketing, and I think those innovative ways are in joining forces with other partners, other businesses, other women business people. It doesn't have to be women, obviously, but other. I think that innovative piece is what is going to help us here in Newfoundland in terms of coming up with new ideas, engaging with customers in a more dynamic way.
Well, thanks so much, Kelly,
You're
for coming in
welcome.
and talking about the Rocket brand.
You're welcome.
Stay with us. We'll be right back after the break. Newfoundland and Labrador Organization of Women Entrepreneurs. Your goal is to succeed in business. Ours is to make sure you do.
Fill out the application. Budget for it, plan for it, make it happen.
Trust your gut.
Use tech to connect.
Encourage others along the way. Prove them wrong.
I think I always wanted to be an entrepreneur from day one when I started in the workforce. I got the opportunity when Beothic Data downsized, and I thought this is the right time, the right place, the right thing to do. My favorite thing about being an entrepreneur was, at the beginning, flexibility for my family. Now, it's good for running my own business is that I'm my own boss. I can make the decisions. I don't have to look to anyone else to do that. The other thing is to give back to the community, which is really exciting because we do a lot of work from some charities in Newfoundland and Labrador. We're small, but we're mighty when we give back to the community. Hi, guys. The people that inspire me the most is my family and my team at Prima right now. Over the past number of years, I've been involved with WPO, Women's Presidents Organization, and there's a lot of really, really amazing women in that organization that inspire me every day. The secret of my success has been my team and always going with my gut. I've actually turned down business because it didn't feel right. When I haven't done that, it's always come through that it's never worked out. Client retention is really important to us, so I want clients that are going to stay with us and help us grow, and in turn help them grow as well.
That's it for Extrapreneurs. Thanks to our sponsors and to you for connecting with women entrepreneurs and learning about the issues and opportunities facing women in business. I hope you've made a few new connections. See you next time.